Welcome to the inquiry-based teaching and learning asynchronous PD for Mighty Middle School. During this PD, we would really love for you to lean into one or more of our IB traits, specifically in a place of risk taker and reflection. We want to be reflective of what we've been doing in our practices and take some risks in how we move forward. My goal is that you will understand the characteristics of general and MYP aligned inquiry, identify some benefits of inquiry based instruction, formulate some inquiry based and aligned questions, construct some things, and really start to plan for how you will incorporate inquiry based instruction more intentionally into your lessons. As a network, we believe that our communities choose Uplift for being a high achieving IB network of schools that ensures that our scholars thrive as individuals, take pride in their own and other cultures, and are critical thinkers prepared for college and career. I think it's really important for us to understand that if we want to be a high achieving IB network of schools, we must lean into the learning of what it looks like to be an IB school, as well as what it looks like to be an IB teacher or an IB scholar. And so we're really going to take some time today to look at those things and get a feel for what that looks like on our campus. You'll remember at the beginning of the year, we went through our house. Our foundation is set on all the things that we worked on last year as a school: routines, engagement, behavior, environment, really working towards our ultimate goals of being able to move and turn our school's data around. This year, we've leaned into small group and stations and aggressive monitoring, really heavy in the first semester. Those are foundational pieces. They're the reason, they're the bottom floor of our house. We've really got to build those up. And now it's time to take those skills that you've learned and put into practice in your classroom and really start to engage with the inquiry or rigorous questioning so that we can really adjust our practices as we look at our assessments and our data. So we're really leaning into that third bucket now as we move into testing season. If you're not familiar, there are two grounded places that IB sits. One of them is the approaches to teaching, the other is approaches to learning. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen this beautiful wheel that encompasses all things of the middle years program. Each of those outside rings are your core classes that scholars are engaged in. Inside of that, you'll see that inside the classroom, what you should have are personal projects. You get those in high school, service, action, community projects, global context, and then concept-based teaching. But for the approaches to teaching, you'll see on the right-hand side, they boiled it down to inquiry, concepts, context, collaboration, differentiation, and assessment. As a teacher, I should embed all 6 of those approaches to teaching in my unit planning. I might not have conceptual teaching every single day. I might not have collaboration every day, but somewhere within my unit, all 6 of these approaches to teaching should be well thought out and intentionally placed into your plans as an IB teacher. We're really, as a K-12 campus, focusing on our based in inquiry approach to teaching. We know that our kids need to be able to put their hands on some things, ask questions, explore the world around them, and that's what we're really leaning into. We also understand that as an IB teacher, if I'm incorporating all the things that are listed here as an approach to teaching, then I should see evidence of that in the way that my scholars are learning, which is the approaches to learning. This is social skills, research skills, thinking and communication skills, and then self management. These are all of the things that we're developing in our scholars that are kind of outside of the content that you specifically teach. So I might teach individuals and societies or physical and health education, but within that content, I'm also developing social and interpersonal skills. I'm also teaching scholars how to research the world around them. I'm also teaching them how to think critically about the world around them, how to communicate with each other on a one-on-one basis, but also how to communicate with the world around them. And then I'm also teaching them organizational skills and how to manage themselves. I'm teaching that self-advocacy and that self-efficacy, that they know that they can advocate for the things that they need because they know what those things are. If I'm doing all the things in the approaches to teaching, it's evidenced by how the scholars are learning and what they are learning. It's really important to understand that these two things go together. They're not two separate pieces. If I'm teaching based in inquiry, then I should see scholars using their thinking skills, using their self management skills, using their research skills. I might see them using social skills to discuss and debate. I might also see them using their communication skills as a form of debate. Um, a, a, a lesson that is grounded in inquiry is not just about asking the right questions. That's part of it. It's also getting kids to ask the right questions and then showing them or giving them space to explore how to find those answers on their own. I say it all the time. We do not teach kids what to think. We teach kids how to think. Some benefits of being based in inquiry are things like you're going to have better engagement. Kids are going to be engaged because you're asking them questions that cannot be answered with a yes or a no. You're asking them questions that make them think beyond what it is that you're specifically teaching them in that moment. You're going to see an improved well being because if I'm leaning into the approaches to inquiry, based instruction. And then my scholars are then able to lean in with me. They're going to be more well balanced and their well being is much more improved. Your content that you're giving them will feel more accessible and more relevant to them. There would be an increase in agency for scholars because they would be kind of leading the charge of what it is that they're trying to learn. You're going to see more critical thinking and deeper learning and a greater level of retention with that good first instruction that's based in inquiry. So, what does this look like in the doing of it? This is a cycle where I ask a question, the scholars do something to find an answer, and then they think critically and reflect critically on what it is that they've learned. And so this will look like this chart here. If I'm in the inquiry phase of an inquiry based instructional lesson, I'm really the teacher action is formulating questions. I'm formulating questions for scholars to answer. Again, think past the yes or no's and go into a place where they might not know the answer to this. So therefore, they must look things up in order to find the answer. I also, when I move into that action piece, what I'm doing is I'm constructing tasks for scholars to engage in the inquiry in a way that I want them to. It's really important that we don't just say, okay, I'm going to ask a question. You go do whatever you want to figure out the answer, because they will take routes you might not have wanted them to take. It is important that as we are teaching scholars, we are setting them up for the tasks that lead to the learning. And I'm going to show you here in a minute some examples of those tasks, but we really want to make sure that we're leaning into that. When you get to the reflection place, it's a place for scholars to analyze and combine all of the information that they've learned and get to a place where they can answer some prompts that you, the teacher, have planned for them. So think about this as a place of saying, not just what did you learn, but what thoughts have you formulated based on what you've learned. So for example, I'm teaching a history class, and we're talking about westward expansion. And during the inquiry phase, I'm asking a lot of general questions like, why would people want to move west in that time period? Would people have understood the risks or the dangers of moving west? What were the risks or dangers? How would you feel about taking that journey? I'm formulating questions to get them interested in the topic, to get them thinking about the topic. I'm asking questions that cannot be answered with just a yes or no. Then I'm constructing a task. This task might be a gallery walk where one poster that they look at is an image of a family stranded on a roadway, and they're out in the middle of nowhere and it looks like they have no food. And I'm just going to ask the scholars to look at the picture and write down what they notice. Write down how the picture makes them feel. Write down some key elements of what's going on or what they believe is happening in that picture. And then in the next poster, I'm having them define words that are attached to westward expansion. So westward expansion with manifest destiny and the things that led to the westward expansion and the war before it, or the troubles. I'm asking them to look at vocabulary. And then the next one might be another image, but this one is of coal miners or gold miners in California who made it all the way across to the west and were able to see what was really there for them. And maybe there's a disappointment on their face and they've got to come up with a story about what's happening. And in that gallery walk, what's happening is I'm having the scholars take what we began to generate in the inquiry phase, and in the doing phase, in that action phase, what they're doing is they're taking that information and beginning to synthesize it together to see the positives and the negatives of what's happened in the past. And then, as part of my reflection, it might just be an open ended, short constructed response question about had they lived in that time, would they have taken the journey to the West? Why or why not? Give me reasons. This is an opportunity for them to really take that learning and apply it to their life, to their world, and maybe even asking them to step into the world of westward expansion and ask themselves, if I lived here, would I do this? And so you're taking them through this journey where you're not telling them that it was dangerous and they shouldn't have gone and it was actually pointless. Or you're not telling them that if we hadn't had westward expansion, then we wouldn't be where we are today. Like, you're not telling them those things. You're asking them questions to lead them to their own thoughts about the value and importance of westward expansion on our current society. So that's kind of like what that might look like if I were doing this cycle in a history class. So this is the list of just a few. This is not an exhaustive list. There are plenty more. Um, and so looking at these tasks, when an IB aligned teacher or IB aligned teacher actions are to actively listen for scholar interest. Maybe you have scholars who really love centers, but struggle with presentations. It's important to know that. Not that you're never going to do a presentation, but it is important to know what is your scholar's interest. Link the interests that scholars have to the subject that you're teaching. Pose questions and give feedback, but don't push an answer. Don't give them the answer. Provide supports, scaffold questions, incorporate some collaboration, allow for scholar voice and dialogue, promote physical movement within the class, and create a caring environment. It is really important to note here that if you have not correctly set up your classroom structure to include one where kids can take a risk and make a mistake, and you're there to catch them, protect them, and ensure that other scholars can't, you know, make fun of them or aren't can't degrade them or devalue their opinions, then scholars are less likely to talk in your room. If you have created a caring environment for scholars, you are going to see where they feel safer and they're more likely to take risks. It's also really important to note that a quiet classroom is not necessarily one where a lot of learning is happening. There are times and places for quiet where scholars are independently working and independently practicing, and they're not talking to each other. But the majority of your class should not be a quiet classroom. The majority of your class should be a class where scholars can collaborate, dialogue with one another, lean on each other's thoughts and feelings and opinions about things, and really start that scholar to scholar discourse where I share my opinion, you share your opinion. They might not match, and that's okay. But if I can justify mine and you can justify yours, then we're good. When looking at these types of different inquiry tasks, I divided them into uh, categories based on two things. One, their level of lift for the teacher, like how much planning is involved, how much time it might take for you to implement this into your classroom, but also with their level of return from scholars. So sometimes a low level lift for a teacher also means a low level return for scholars. And so I've put this into a high, medium, low category. So on the low side, which means I could probably start doing all of these things tomorrow with little to no planning. I can take a turn and talk anytime. Anytime I ask a question, I can always pose the question, have them turn and talk to their neighbor, and then share out before they answer out. Discussions. This is table discussions, partner discussions, classroom discussions, online discussions if you need to start there. Anything that allows scholars to talk to each other about a topic. Brainstorming. This is a great way to look at a um, look at a topic that you're getting ready to do or a topic that you're getting ready to start and have them brainstorm. What do you already know about this topic? This is a great way to see where scholars' heads are at. That also leads into a KWL, which is a know, want to know, learned chart. And it's 3 columns if you're not sure. The first column is, what do I know about this topic? The second column is, what do I want to know about this topic? What's something that, when I hear this word, I'm curious. And then at the end of your learning, you would have them go back in and fill in what they've learned. This is a great place for you to determine if the learning you wanted to take place actually took place. For the medium, these are things like centers. This is the station work that you guys are doing. It does require a little bit, but it also returns a lot. A jigsaw where you take a larger problem or a larger text and you break it up and you have different people doing different pieces of it, and then you come together to put it all back together. It's almost like a puzzle. Gallery walks, that was the example I used with the history class earlier. Journaling, an opportunity for scholars to just get all of their thoughts on the page. And then incorporating any sort of like games that are meaningful and revolve around whatever topic it is that you're talking about. The high level, these are high returns. These are high retention rates. These are high amounts of work for scholars. This is also a high inquiry based instruction, meaning that you pose a question or you put something out there for scholars, and then it is 100% up to them to determine what they want to know about it and moving through it. So this is doing a lab, doing projects within your class, creating artwork, anything that they're creating, doing a demonstration of some kind, or what's really great are doing some case studies. So putting something that's already been done out in front of them and having them evaluate it, read through it, analyze it, and give you feedback on it. What we would ask is in the Google form that came with this email, there's an opportunity for you to determine which one of these inquiry tasks have you not done before. So, not something you're already doing. What is something you've not done before that you would like to commit to beginning the process and trying to do? Not saying that you're going to be perfect the first time you try it. But this is an opportunity. Pick one of these things and say, I'm committed to doing this particular inquiry task. And even tell us when you're going to do it so that I can come in or your coach can come in and just kind of get a feel for it, look at it, give you feedback on it so that you can grow in each of these practices. And now we're going to kind of stop here on the Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's is such a great place to build your questioning from. Every lesson, every unit should be comprised of any number of these particular levels of questioning. At no point should anyone stay in the remember and understand. These are, I just need to know that you understand what we're talking about before I can ask you to analyze anything or evaluate something. So remember, this is just recalling facts. This is rote memorization. So do you know what the value of 2 is? It is 2. Do you know what this word means? It is this. It is when was the war? World War II was this time. Like these are rote facts. Understanding something is when you've asked a scholar to explain. So, this is when you start to use those command terms like classify, describe, discuss, identify, recognize. You're taking what you remember about a topic and then moving a little bit further to explain what it was. These are both pretty low level questions. We want to move into those mid and high level questions from apply to create. In the apply, you use command terms like solve this, demonstrate something, execute this skill. In the analyze, it's differentiate, compare, contrast, examine, experiment, test something, organize something. We're starting to use the information that we've learned to put them in new situations or make connections between one topic to another topic. In the evaluate stage, you're justifying or making a stand or a decision. So this is argue it, judge it, support this. If you ever look at an ELA test where they have to write, it's always a place of they've got to pick a side. So when you get to the evaluate side, it's really where you are deciding what you believe about the information that you've learned. and you're defending it. You're justifying it. In the create space, this is where I take all the things I've learned, all of the analysis I've done, and I create something new. My favorite version of this would be write something from a different person's perspective. So if we're reading a novel, I might write a scene that takes place in the main character's perspective and write it from one of the non-central characters' perspective. If I'm in history, I might take a historical event and write a historical events timeline from somebody else's perspective. Or if I'm reading a first person account of something, I might write it from somebody else's account. If I'm in math, this might look like create your own problem that aligns to this formula that we've been using, or investigating something to create something new. It's really important that we do not sit in the remember and understand. So one thing that we're going to have you do is in an upcoming lesson, I would like for you in the Google form to submit to me 3 questions. One that would fall in the low level, which is the understand or remember. One that would fall in the analyze and apply, that's the mid level. And then one that would fall into the high level, which is the evaluate or create. So you're going to take an upcoming lesson and you're going to generate 3 questions for that upcoming lesson. One from the low level, one from the mid level, one from the high level, to submit in the Google form so that we can just see what kind of questions are we generating and how can we give you the best feedback for them. So thank you so much. Please make sure at this time that you go directly into the Google form so that you can answer the questions and submit the work to us. One, so that you don't forget because you just watched the video. So go do it now. And 2, so that we can get a feel for what's going on our campus in as far as questioning and inquiry instruction goes, so when we can know when to come in and watch you do it. Thank you so much. Have a fabulous day.